Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes, the moments that change us most arrive quietly, without thunder, without fanfare, perhaps in a corner booth of an old roadside diner. It was a cold evening when the door to the Bluebird Diner creaked open, letting in a gust of chilly air and the smell of rain. The place was half full: truckers, couples, and a group of bikers dressed in black leather jackets bearing the emblem of their brotherhood. Their laughter filled the room like the rumble of engines outside. Among them sat a man everyone knew as Red Dog, tall, broad-shouldered, covered in tattoos. To the world, he looked like trouble. A man of few words, but his silence carried weight. Then, she walked in, a young mother, her clothes worn, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Her daughter, no older than 5, clung to her side, wrapped in a tattered blanket. The woman hesitated at the door, scanning the booths. Her cheeks were flushed from the cold, and her hands trembled slightly as she guided the little girl toward the counter. The waitress, kind but busy, offered a sympathetic smile. "Coffee's on the house, sweetheart." The woman nodded with quiet gratitude. She ordered nothing more, just a cup of warmth to share with her child. The little girl's eyes darted toward the plates of pancakes, bacon, and fries that lined the tables. Red Dog noticed. He didn't know why he kept watching, but something in that child's gaze, that quiet hunger, stirred something deep within him. Maybe it reminded him of a time long ago when he'd been hungry for more than food, hungry for care, for safety, for love. He cut another piece of his steak, but the bite turned to ash in his mouth. He called the waitress over. "Get her and the kid whatever they want," he said in his gravelly voice. The waitress looked surprised. "You sure?" He nodded. "Don't tell her who paid. Just make sure they eat." Moments later, the woman blinked in disbelief as plates were set before her: pancakes for the girl, soup for herself, and a small slice of pie that the waitress accidentally added. The mother protested softly, but the waitress winked. "It's covered." They ate slowly, savoring every bite, as if afraid the food might disappear. Red Dog looked away, pretending to be lost in conversation with his friends. But every now and then, his eyes drifted back, to the small child giggling as syrup dripped down her chin, to the mother's relieved smile. When they finished, the woman asked the waitress quietly, "Can I take the leftovers for my daughter? She gets hungry at night." Later that night, Red Dog sat alone outside the diner, a cigarette burning low between his fingers. The neon sign flickered above him, half alive, half broken, much like the man himself. He thought about her words. "Can I take the leftovers for my daughter?" It wasn't just a question about food. It was a question born from struggle, from countless nights of uncertainty, from pride swallowed in the name of love. It was the sound of a mother doing everything she could to protect her child's tomorrow, even if it meant going without today. Red Dog had seen plenty in his life. He'd seen men fight for pride, for vengeance, for territory. But here, in that diner, he had witnessed a different kind of courage, quiet, raw, and selfless. He thought about his own mother, a woman who had raised him on her own after his father walked out. She had worked double shifts at a laundromat just to keep food on the table. There were nights she didn't eat so he could. He remembered the way she'd smile and say, "I'm not hungry tonight, baby." He knew better now. That woman in the diner was someone's mother too, and she was fighting the same battle his mother once had. He stubbed out his cigarette and went back inside. The woman and her daughter were gone. Their plates were cleared, the booth empty. But something in him felt unfinished. He waved over the waitress again. "You know where she's headed?" The waitress shook her head. "No, but she said she lives out near the old motel on 9th. Doesn't look like she's doing too well." Red Dog nodded. He didn't say anything else. He left a large bill on the table, far more than the meal cost, and walked out into the cold night. The next morning, the rumble of motorcycles filled the air as Red Dog and his crew prepared for their weekly ride. The men joked and teased, unaware that their leader's thoughts were somewhere else entirely. When they stopped for gas, Red Dog made a decision. "You boys ride ahead, I've got something to handle." He turned his bike toward 9th Street. The road grew rougher, the houses smaller, until he reached the rundown motel. Peeling paint, broken lights, and the faint sound of a television playing behind thin walls. He found her sitting outside one of the doors, wrapping her daughter in an old blanket, trying to keep her warm. The sight hit him harder than he expected. She looked up, startled, when she saw him approach. Her first instinct was fear. A man like him didn't usually show up with good intentions. "Hey," he said quietly. "You were at the diner yesterday." She nodded, holding her child closer. "Yes. Thank you for the food." He shook his head. "Wasn't me." She smiled faintly. "Well, thank whoever it was." He hesitated before speaking again. "Look, I ain't here to bother you. Just thought you could use this." He handed her a grocery bag, some food, bottled water, and a few essentials. She looked at the bag, then back at him. "I can't accept charity." He shrugged. "It ain't charity. It's just a little help. You'd do the same if it were me." She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw not a biker, not a stranger, but a man carrying a quiet kindness beneath the scars and tattoos. Tears welled in her eyes. "You don't even know us." He nodded slowly. "Don't have to. I know what it's like to need a hand and have nobody offer one." The little girl peeked from behind her mother, clutching a small stuffed bear. "Thank you, mister," she whispered. He smiled, a rare thing for him, and said, "You take care of your mom, okay?" The woman whispered, "God bless you." He didn't say anything. He just tipped his head, turned, and walked back to his bike. But something had shifted in him. For years, he'd worn his toughness like armor, built walls so high that nothing could reach him. Yet in one simple act, one fleeting moment, those walls began to crack. Weeks passed, but Red Dog couldn't shake that encounter from his mind. He found himself visiting the diner more often, not for the food, but for the people. He began quietly paying for strangers, meals, tipping extra for single mothers, and buying coffee for the homeless who lingered outside. Word spread among his biker brothers. Some teased him, others followed his lead. Soon, what began as a single act of kindness became something bigger, a small movement within their rough-edged world. They started calling it Ride for Hope. Once a month, the crew would gather food, clothes, and essentials, riding to neighborhoods that needed help the most. They didn't do it for praise or reputation. They did it because, in that diner, a hungry child and her mother had reminded them of something humanity often forgets, the power of compassion. And Red Dog, he changed too. He no longer saw the world through the lens of toughness or survival alone. He understood now that kindness didn't make a man weak, it made him whole. He often returned to that same booth at the Bluebird Diner, ordering 2 plates. One for himself, and one to go. The waitress would smile knowingly. "Still thinking about that mom and her kid. We never really know the battles people are fighting." The person sitting quietly in the corner, the one who looks weary or lost, they might be carrying the weight of the world. Sometimes, all it takes to lighten that load is a small act of humanity. "Can I take the leftovers for my daughter?" Those words remind us that love, true love, isn't loud. It's not dramatic or glamorous. It's found in small sacrifices, in quiet courage, in asking for less so someone else can have more. And the biker's reaction, his choice to see, to care, to act, shows that redemption is possible for anyone. No matter who you are, no matter where you've been, kindness can rewrite your story. Every one of us carries the power to make a difference, not through grand gestures, but through simple compassion. A meal shared, a hand extended, a heart opened. So the next time you pass someone in need, remember Red Dog. Remember the mother who asked for leftovers. Remember that even the toughest hearts can soften, and even the smallest acts can echo.